Hey guys, welcome to Ice Hockey Aussies Power Rankings Week 10. This is the last one before the Christmas break, so we're doing it a day early. To get us kicked off is Jaden with pick 32.
All right. Having a look at the week, I haven't made a change, so still Chicago at 32. I I teetered with putting the Ducks down there just because they went 0-3 and Chicago actually won one, but I still don't think it's enough to move them up. So they're still remain at 32.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, they got a good win. Um, it was against Columbus.
Yep.
But yeah, to me, I just the way Chicago are playing, they have played a little bit better this week, but
Yeah.
over the past probably month, month even longer maybe, they've just been terrible.
Yeah. They
So yeah, I
played one
couldn't do
good
it.
game against Nashville, which they lost, and then they beat Columbus. So things could be looking up, but honestly, I think it's too small of a sample size.
Yeah, exactly. Well, moving on to 31 is the team we probably could have replaced them with, the Anaheim Ducks.
Yep. That's where I've got them
Uh,
too.
I'm, I mean, 0-3, pretty much straight back to normal for these guys. Not expecting much more, but um, yeah, I don't know if they'll ever move out of the bottom three, to be
Yeah,
honest,
bottom
for the
30.
whole season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a bit rough. It'll be interesting what they do in the off season. Got like some 2 year contract veterans like Henrique that they could move. At the deadline if they want to get some value for a player like that, which I would probably be looking at. So they could even get worse by the other side of the trade deadline.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they look to move a couple of players by the deadline, but that's their aim right now is to probably be as bad as possible, um, and move out anyone that they don't think's a part of their future but has value.
Mm.
Um, so your Siffelsbergs, your Henrik, like you just touched on, maybe even Ryan Strome. I mean, he's signed for a $5 million contract. It's not unreasonable if they can find a suitor for him. But
I don't think he's played great this year, and I don't think anybody's willing to take that contract on. I don't think, but it'll be interesting if someone does pull that trigger already.
Mm.
On to pick number 30. Another team not moving. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I'm wondering how many weeks in a row this bottom three is going to stay this way.
I think they're almost at this point on par. Columbus negative 46, Anaheim negative 63, and Chicago negative 47 in goal differential. And 2-8-0 for Columbus this week. In the last 10, sorry, lost their last six in regulation. Yeah, they could honestly go to 31 and 32 if
Mhm.
they keep the streak going.
Yeah. I mean, all it takes is Anaheim or Chicago to have a few wins and Columbus to keep losing the way they are. But I honestly can't see any of these three teams moving out of this bottom three anytime soon. I
No.
know everyone thinks Arizona will eventually get there, and they possibly will, but I also think Arizona are playing much better hockey than these three teams as well. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
Arizona would like to be there, but I think if Columbus made a move on that center position they need to fill, they could change it around.
they could
But
move.
they probably might not do that. But there are centers out there at the moment that they could target, which would be good if they could sign them to medium terms. So
Yeah, it just depends on how long they can get in term wise, because I don't think you're going to trade for rentals,
no,
and I don't think they're wanting to give up too much in pick wise. Just depending on what they get back, really.
yeah. Alrighty, your pick.
All right, my pick. Moving down a position this week. I've got the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, same position for me last week. It's
Yeah, yeah, I had to sort of move them down that one position. They didn't have a worse week than I thought they'd have. They pretty much did what I think I expected, but they also, I think the team above them got a win against a quality side during the week, and I think they've just been performing a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I had to make that call.
I think they got a lot of issues with the Hayes situation and whatnot, and what Torts is doing with keeping people accountable. I think they got also bigger issues like the way they're playing. It's kind of like what Florida started to do, where it's just they're trying to play a real physical, beat people up type of game. And
Yeah,
you can try doing that, but at the end of the day, if you outskill an opponent, put it in the net, then that's it. And that's basically the simplest way of looking at hockey. So sure, they might be
and
winning
that's what's
fights, but they're not
happened.
winning games.
Oh, exactly. I just don't think you could put it any better, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get any better for them. They're going to have to go into a full rebuild. Whether
Yep.
that franchise that likes it or not, it's got to happen. And the sooner they realize that and pull the trigger on that, the better it will be for that franchise.
Yeah. Quick note on that. It's interesting that the two teams playing that type of style, Florida and Philly, uh, kind of at the bottom ends of the league. So it's kind of showing that the league's matured into a more skill based, and definitely think
Mm.
Florida's overcompensated for not having enough strength in the playoffs already.
Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do, but yeah, we'll touch on that a little bit more. I don't think Philly has the talent.
No,
Florida does, but and that's why I think that's why they're turning to that physical side because they don't have that sort of skill and that talent to play that. So they want to be those brute strength, but it's just not working.
yeah,
Um,
already.
so
On to
yeah,
pick 28 for me. Another team not moving. It's the San Jose Sharks. So
yeah, not a lot of movement
yeah, yeah,
to
not
to
not a
start.
lot, not lot of movement in my bottom row. It's yeah, it's kind of just been where these teams are at. Like San Jose's
Mm,
been alright. They've got some value in some of their players like Timo Mai, who they could trade out and add some good assets, some draft picks. And it's a bit worrying though, but I don't know. Like they got a good kind of win against Minnesota, but they're still losing games like 7-3 to Calgary. So it, it,
yeah,
it is it is what it
they don't
is.
have a defense. They don't have a defense.
Yeah,
Like
it's
they've got
yeah,
a glorified winger playing defense.
that's
That's
best way to put
yeah,
it.
yeah,
But yeah, so another team waiting for the trade deadline basically to see what they can get.
yeah. See what they can ship off and turn into as many assets as they can. Um, but yeah, all right. Moving on at pick 27. Another team not moving for me. I'm interested to see if you'll make it six straight. Um, the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, it's the same for me. So nobody's moving. It's all zeros, all up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long can that hold for you? I'm interested.
uh,
But
I'll let you touch on them.
I thought they had a reasonably good week. They get a shootout win against Los Angeles today. Um, which it's great. This is what they've been doing all season. They've just been grinding out wins, playing well, but also losing enough to keep them down the lower end of the table. So they lose to Montreal, they get a point. They lose to Vegas, but they played reasonably well. Like they weren't really
No,
looking like they were going to win that, but
yeah,
Vegas are a much classier side than them, and that showed. But they're in games, and that's all you can really hope for those guys.
yeah. I think there's
Um,
also like a 18 million or something salary cap difference. So,
exactly right. So
but
they're doing what you want to see. As an Arizona fan, I wouldn't be disappointed in what I'm seeing from them if I was a fan of the Coyotes. Because I think yeah, they're probably one of the best bottom 6 or 7 teams at the moment.
yeah.
Um,
Well, one good thing about what they are doing is the amount of shots they were conceding this week. It was very minimal. So probably one of the
mm,
best in the league this week, and only a -1 on the shot differential. So for a team like Arizona with that salary cap differential, it's really good to see
Exactly.
already. On to my pick. At 26, I have the Montreal Canadiens. So they moved down one. I think they've been doing it every week for the last like 5, 6 weeks. It feels like just slowly sliding down for me. Oh, and the
Yep.
26 for you.
Yep. And we
Uh,
got 7 straight here. 7 straight are the exact same.
and it all went
Oh,
to hell.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it's hard. It's basically a one-line team at the moment, and you clearly can't pull that off in this league with one line. They go to OT against Arizona, OT against Colorado on a down Colorado with only 20 shots, and then get defeated by Dallas. So probably two hard games in there, but it still sums up their season, kind of where they were expected to be at the start of the season, I'd say.
yeah, that's it. Like, I don't think you'd be hating life as a Montreal fan right now. Like, you're seeing some good signs from some of the young players. You're seeing where your team needs to improve and um, bring in better assets, but they're also staying quite low in the standings. So they're 25th right now, um, which is pretty much where you want them because in a year where the draft's supposed to be reasonably good, um, you don't want to be finishing, 18th, 19th, 20th, missing out on a wild card spot by 5 or 6 points, and then blowing your chances at a high draft pick.
Mm,
So for these guys, like as long as you're seeing some good signs, and where you need to make improvements, I'm pretty happy where Montreal are at the moment. I think we're seeing some good things, but we're also seeing where they need to improve and what they need to do in the postseason.
yeah, no, I agree.
All right, moving on to my pick 25. At pick 25, I don't. Yeah, I can't believe I've gone this low, but I did it. I made the call, and it's the St. Louis Blues.
Ooh, interesting. Um, I don't have them that low actually. I actually have them at 23. So, like I said, it all went to hell.
Yeah. Well, seven's probably the best we've done in it, I reckon. But we'll take that. No, I don't know. I mean, I yeah, you still move them down 2 positions. I've moved them down three. I could have had them up one, probably one position more, but yeah, they've been so inconsistent this year, and
Yeah,
I just don't know what to make of them.
yeah. Well, they're 5-3-2 in the last 10. They're just sitting at 500 for the season, but they got a negative 19 goal differential. Um, yeah, it's been a topsy turvy season. I definitely see them as probably going to be big sellers at this trade deadline. They've got a lot of contracts that they can move, with Ryan O'Reilly and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely interested to see what happens there. It's interesting that they beat Vancouver, lose to Seattle, then they go to shootout loss against Vegas. So probably you know two difficult games there, and they come out with a point. But and then they beat Vancouver, which you'd expect a team that they should be beating, pretty comfortably 5-1. So yeah, it's hard to gauge. Definitely bottom 20, I think, and maybe like that for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Um,
Already on to my 25. I have a team dropping off the face of the earth. It's the Florida Panthers.
you did. You went harder than I did.
Yeah, I went hard.
Oh, that's crazy.
-8. So
Oh,
bigger correction for me is
yeah.
I don't like the game style. They're like we discussed about with in regards to Philly. They've just gone for this physical game style where they feel like beating up their team's gonna score them goals, and it obviously doesn't. It doesn't look
No,
good. One of the wins they had last week with New Jersey, they probably shouldn't have won. Should have had like 10 penalties against, and it looks like they're probably going to keep playing like that. They get destroyed by Boston. They lose to the Devils, and then they get destroyed by the Islanders. So it's not looking good.
no, and they're 6 wins in their last 19 games. Like yeah, something's not clicking there, and I get that they want to try to be that team that, okay, we're gonna throw our bodies around a bit, and that's okay. You can do that. That helps you come playoffs, being a bit more physical and being able to take those hits. But they're going too far with it. They're doing too much. Um, yeah, it's unnecessary,
Yeah,
especially from such a skilled team. And I feel like they get away from their skilled
yeah,
game
exactly,
style to
exactly.
to do those hits, and then all of a sudden their game plan just falls to pieces, and they don't know where they're at, and they don't
Yeah,
know whether they're gonna put
yeah.
on big hits or whether they're gonna do.
Look,
Um,
I'll say I think the issue I don't even think you could really argue it's the coach. I think if they
mhm,
were serious about making the playoffs, you have to change coach. Um, they effed up with the brunette and not signing him on, and
mhm.
it's showing. And I don't think the coach they got now, forgetting his name, is that good of a coach either. So losing brunette for coach that has you down at 25, 24 in the power rankings for us, it's that doesn't look good, and
It's
it
not
has to
just it's
has to
not
start
just
with
our
coach.
power ranking, it's the standings as well. Like
Mm, mm.
if we had them at 24, 25, and they were 16th in the standings, you could question it, but
But yeah, I
they're
just
22nd.
yeah, exactly. I just say coach. I think they'll probably be one of the first teams to make a coaching change if they were serious about making playoffs. But
Yeah,
yeah,
look, I agree with you on that. I think I don't see their coach lasting.
mm. Alrighty, your pick.
All right, on to my pick 23. Moving up a few positions this week. I've been hesitant on them, but they're looking reasonably good. A lot better than they were, and it's the Vancouver Canucks.
All right, so yeah, 24 for me, not moving. You got on
Yeah,
plus
I
three.
didn't I didn't mind their week. I think they just had that little hiccup at the start of the week against St. Louis, but then they come home pretty strong with the 6-5 win against Seattle in shootout and the 5-2 win against Edmonton today, which was really impressive. Um,
Yeah, my
so
issue,
yeah,
my concern was they concede 5 goals, 5 goals against Seattle, even though it's 6-5, but it's shootout, and then 2 goals. So 12 goals divided by three, it's 4 goals a game. That's not sustainable to get points. And the other win against Edmonton, I don't know. I guess that says could say a lot more about Edmonton than Vancouver as well. I actually had a gut feeling today that Vancouver were going to beat them and beat them heavily on the scoreboard, and they did. Um, I'm not too sure why. I just had that real big gut feeling, and yeah, but
to be fair, I haven't been too confident in Edmonton winning much lately.
yeah,
So
but that's the thing. They'll
um,
go they'll
yeah,
go defeat a big team, then they'll go lose to Vancouver. But good on Vancouver. I don't know if they want to win those games though, but at least their star players that they want to get rid of are putting up points, increasing their trade value.
yep,
Alrighty,
exactly.
on to pick number 22. I'm just having a look here. I have the Ottawa Senators.
Or back on track. Here we go. Can we start another streak?
Yeah, I teetered with between them and Vancouver basically, of just flip
Mhm.
flopping where they are. It's kind of like they play good hockey, but they don't get results, and it's been the same status quo for the whole season. In 5-3-2 in
Mm.
the last 10, it's what 31 points. They're basically on points percentage wise below Montreal and above Arizona. So it it's tough. I definitely think they turn it around, but I can definitely see them dropping down towards Montreal if they have a bad week.
Well, I'm just really disappointed in them, to be honest. Like, we finally thought they were turning it around. They were 6-1-1 in their last 8 games. Actually, sorry, yes, 6-1-1 in their last 8 games before this week started. I was like, great, they're finally doing what we want them to do, and that's get these results because they've been playing good hockey. And then I know it's a tough week. It's against three quality sides, but they pick up 1 point, and that's it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and that's it. Like you've got to at least win one of those games. So yeah, they drop a little bit for me. It's a bit of a back step, and it doesn't get any easier next week coming up against Boston, Washington, and then Detroit. So I mean, we'll see what they do, but I still think they're a little bit away from being that wild card hopeful team.
Yep. I agree. All right, on to your pick.
Right, my pick 21. Uh, Another yo-yo team, the way they've been going lately. They move up a few positions this week after moving down positions last week. It's the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Oh, lovely. Two in a row. Get around it.
+5 for me, +3 for you.
Yeah, I mean, they had a pretty reasonably good week. I mean, I think 5 out of 6 points they take. They beat the Oilers, beat Chicago, which you should expect, and then they have a pretty good game against Colorado today. Um, so it's good, but yeah, again, just one of those yo-yo teams where you don't really know what to expect from them because they go on a reasonably good run, they win a few games, and then they lose six straight.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
I still
so,
think they're like playing better than where they're at.
yeah,
It's just like you said, yo-yoing, and it's just not consistent. But I do think they are playing better on ice than they were at the start of the season. So you got that to look forward to. You know, Roman Yossi's playing great and etc. So I don't think there's too much to hate there, but you're probably hating for where that team is in regards to contracts and what's player base and whatnot you have there to where they are in the standings. You know, they should probably be a playoff team. So it'll be interesting how they go
they
from here.
should.
But
I do think it's tough for them though,
yeah,
being in that central
yeah,
with Dallas,
that's the
Winnipeg,
problem.
Colorado,
Yeah,
Minnesota all playing the way they are. You're like, okay, well, it leaves us basically one wild card spot if we're lucky. So yeah, it's definitely going to be tough for them, that's for sure.
alrighty. On to pick number 20. I have Calgary Flames. So +3 for me.
No, damn. I was hoping. I thought we might have had it, but nah, I've got them just one spot up in at pick 19.
Alrighty. Yeah, like they had a good week, but it was an easy week, and that's what you can
Mm.
say about that. You know, San Jose, LA, then Anaheim. You know, 3 out of those 4, they should almost be guaranteed wins, and they get those wins. Though the Anaheim did go to OT, and then they get the OT loss against the LA, so they take almost maximum points. Um, but it is against the lower end teams, and it boosts them up in the standings. I don't know if it boosts them up that high in the power rankings though. That's the thing.
I mean, I think they're pretty. I think what they're 17th in the standings.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, look, yes, they won 3 of 4 this week, took 7 out of 8, but the previous 5 games before that they lost, and
yep,
they lost well. So, um, they probably need a little bit more consistency around that. And when they do drop the games, because everyone's expecting these guys to be a playoff side, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing it in glimpses, but then it falls apart and they lose to Columbus. Uh, so yeah, we need to see it more consistently, and it's good that they're getting these points against those lower teams, but the teams that are mid-table and around them, we need to see them do more against them as well,
yeah,
because they're the teams that, losing points to them, that's what's going to cost you a playoff spot. So, yeah,
yeah.
just need to see a bit more from them.
Yeah, I think 10 out of 35 of the games have gone to OT/shootout as well. So you know, it's almost 1/3 of their games going to OT or shootout, which is not really great for a team that should be going for playoffs. I think you should be winning more in regulation than that. But
Yeah,
like,
like if it's against good sides, that's not too bad. But if
mm,
it's against the low end. Yeah, there's clearly an issue with closing out games there.
Alrighty, yeah, your
All
pick.
right, pick 20. I don't know how people are going to take this one, but yeah, just they've not been good. The Edmonton Oilers,
Yay, you did it. I teeted on it,
I
man. I
I did it.
I left him at 18.
Oh, oh
I
wow.
I was because basically team 19, if that team went above, then Calgary had to go above. That's how I looked at it, and I
Okay,
didn't think Calgary were quite there. So
okay. Nah, look, I just for me, man, I just don't like the way they're playing. Like they've not been good. They've got one line, they've got no defense, and they've got a reasonable goaltender, but he's got no help whatsoever. Um, honestly, if these guys make a playoff spot, it's purely if they don't improve things and they keep playing the way they are and they scrape into a playoff spot, it's only because of how weak the West is, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to get wiped in the playoffs. Um,
yeah, depending what they
so
do in the trade deadline, they could make some big moves, but their depth is not scoring at all. Um,
no,
and not putting up the numbers that they were last year.
well,
So they've got
well,
issues basically from line two onwards.
here's a stat for you. Ready for this? Here's their goal scorers:
Oh
Connor
yeah,
McDavid
yeah, I know
30,
this one. Yep,
Draisaitl 21, Nugent Hopkins 18, Hyman 15. Do you want to know what their next best scorer is?
I think it was four, maybe it's five now.
It's Darnell Nurse with 5.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Like they have 4 players above 10 goals, and then the rest are nowhere to be seen. So they've basically got 4 players doing everything. And you could have thrown
Yeah.
Evander Kane in there before his wrist issue,
Mm.
but that's it. That's all they've got, and
What you would notice
you're
as
not
well,
winning.
what you would notice as well with that top tier, that's the first line power play.
Mm, exactly.
That's the first line power play. So that sums it up. They're a power play team because they got no
Yeah,
depth. It's and that's it.
they I think there was a stat there. Bottom 10 in 5-on-5.
Yeah,
Bottom 10 in the league in 5-on-5. Like it's just yeah,
yeah,
it's not clicking for them. And if they don't do something, yeah, you can have McDavid and Draisaitl all you want, but they're not getting you a cup.
yeah. Alrighty. Um, we'll wipe the tears out of the Oilers fans and move on. All right, on
Yeah,
to on to my pick 19. It is the Detroit Red Wings.
yeah, I've got them up at pick 18.
So yeah, I wanted to push them above. Basic, Basically, you've done what I was looking at doing, and I was very close to doing it. I just didn't pull the trigger. I'll probably do it next week, especially if they keep doing what they're doing. But in regards to Detroit, it was a decent week. 1-1 and beating the Capitals and no, losing the Capitals, sorry, and beating Tampa, but losing the Capitals in OT with the 19 shots. It was definitely an interesting game. Basically, everything went in while watching that one, and then they go and beat Tampa. It was kind of 5-4, and then I believe it was two empty nets when watching that game. So the score looks a
But
bit
it's
bit
still
inflated,
against a good side,
but like you
right?
said, yeah, it's
Like
still against a good side. So honestly, 3 out of 4 points against those two teams, you take that every day of the week.
I was gonna say, like if that's I think any team in this entire NHL is taking that against those 2 teams. They're
Mm,
happy to get away with 3. Yeah, 3 points. So yeah, good week for them. Especially after the 5-game losing streak that they had been on. So 6-game losing streak. Sorry, what the Washington game was their 6th, but um, be interesting to see if they can turn it around because they have been just a massive yo-yo team.
yeah, I don't think they do. I think they will just keep yo-yoing in and
Yeah,
outside the top 16, and that's where they'll be. All right, your
oh,
pick.
that's fair. I can do that. All right, this team's I still don't like the way they play, but they get results and they're sitting pretty sweet in the standings. Um, yeah, Los Angeles Kings.
Ooh. All right, so I put them in my top 16 at 16.
Ooh.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's,
think
yeah,
I think you have to do it honestly with where they are in the standings, not just straight up, but even point percentage wise. I know it's not looking pretty on ice, but they're still getting
mm,
results, like you said, like 6-2-2 in the last 10. I,
they,
they're the only team in
yeah,
that type of bull mark with a negative goal differential, though, and that says a lot.
I know, and that's my point, right? Like they've played a lot more games than everyone as well. So like, they are 19, 12, and 6. They've -7 goal difference. I look at teams around them like, even Edmonton, right? They're 18, 15, and 2. They win 2 games and they're a game, but they win their 2 games in hand, they're a game behind them. Um,
But they're still
I think
behind them.
LA.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I get it, but like I think their seventh in the standings is misleading because of how many games they've played. Because Pittsburgh win 1 in 4 and they're in front of them. Winnipeg 1 in 3 and they're in front of them. Rangers 1 in 2. Washington wins a game and it's just
Yeah.
I think
Uh,
once teams catch up to them, they will drop down the
well, they're
standings.
14th in the standings and point percentage. Like they're basically at point 600, which is actually really good.
Mm,
It's essentially equal with Minnesota, um,
mm,
and just above Washington actually. And even if Washington wins their next game, they'll be on equal points with the equal games. So I don't know. I had to have them in my top 16, but
Yep.
I think they're at 16 just because how what it looks like on ice.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think you've got a point there. Like, yep, okay, it's not pretty, but they're getting the job done,
Yeah,
so they can't be doing too much wrong, because they're still getting results. So yeah, that's why they moved up for me, is because even though it might not be pretty, I don't like watching their games, but
yeah.
they
It
they're getting results.
must be hard to be an LA fan. Already on to pick number 17 for me, just outside the playoffs. I have the Buffalo Sabres.
See, I had to have them in because I just think they're playing much better hockey than Los Angeles.
Yeah, but they only win one game this week, and they only had 18 shots against 43 from Vegas. But like you said, I like the way they play. I find it fun to watch and everything. But I had to have LA above just on results alone. Um, and like if you look at Buffalo, I think they were 21st in point percentage, just slightly above 500. But they have amazing goal differential of 8 plus 18 and a good
Hmm.
last last game four wins and 7-2-1 in the last 10. Uh, definitely next week probably top 16 if they continue on.
Yeah, they're 11-5. Um, uh, 11-4-1, I think, in their last 15, 16 games. That is. So that's really what I'm looking at is their last probably month or so has been really solid. They've really turned their season around. They were always playing good hockey. They just weren't getting results, and now they're starting to get those results. So,
Yeah,
yeah, look out in the Metro and the Atlantic divisions over in the East because those wild card spots could be going to anyone.
yeah, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Alrighty, on to the next one.
All right, my pick 15. It's just not moving for me this week, and it's an odd one. New York Islanders. I'm not really sure where I sit with them.
Yeah, they
They
stay the
didn't have
same
a
for me.
terrible week. They didn't have a bad week, but they didn't have a good week. They beat the Panthers and they beat them all over the park. They lose to the Rangers, but you know, the Rangers have been playing really well. And they lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. No, sorry.
Avs.
Uh,
Yep.
Avs. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong line. Yeah, they lose to the Avs in shootout. I was like, I swear they got a point.
Yeah.
Um, and I know the Avs are, have injury concerns and stuff, but that was a really tight game. They really took it to them. So they take 3 points from the 3 games. It's three. Well, I'll say two now because Florida, I don't know where they are, but two reasonably good sides that they lost to. So yeah, I couldn't move them.
No, I think this is spot on where they are at the moment. They're 4-4-2 in the last 10. It's yeah, I think this is spot on. I definitely think they could turn it on, but if they have to turn it on because, like we've been saying, the Atlantic and Metro, everyone's turning it on now. So if you don't, I think you could be kicked out of the playoff run pretty quickly.
Well,
And
they're out of the playoffs at the moment.
yeah,
Like that's how tight the East is. A team like New York, who have been in the top 10 for a lot of this season so far, is now not even in a playoff spot.
yeah, it's a bit rough. Got to be good to
Yeah,
be a Western Division team. But alrighty,
I know, right?
on to pick number 14 for me. Um, not much happening with this team, but it's the Seattle Kraken. So moving down one for me.
Two for me. They
Yeah,
didn't really do anything wrong, did they? Like,
no, you go and beat the Jets, then you go beat the Blues. Shootout loss against Vancouver. Um, was that 5 out of 6 points? It's a really actually good week, and it's just nothing on them really. It's just teams around them playing much better hockey and getting results. And I think where Seattle moving down and having that type of run, um, I think that sums up the top like 14, 15 really. You have to be that good.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. Like you can slip. If you have a couple of bad weeks, you're gonna end up where New York are um, at the moment, and those teams sitting 16, 17, probably through to 2021. There's a gap. There's a pretty clear gap between those teams, but if if they can turn it on, they're definitely teams are leaving it open um, for that top 16 at the moment. Like, if New York keep this up and keep going 4-4-2 in the next 10, teams like Los Angeles and Buffalo, they're going to overtake them. Um, so yeah, Seattle still doing some really good things, but they have had a bit of a speed bump lately. So yeah, interested to see what they do.
Alrighty, yeah, your pick.
All right, pick 13. They've been on I feel like a tear like this. I know they've moved up a lot more in previous weeks, but I feel like the run they're on, they'd move up a lot further than they have. It's just teams around them have just done a bit more, I think. It's Washington Capitals.
Yeah, that's where I've got them too. Washington Capitals.
Yeah. It felt weird, like only moving them one spot, but they couldn't justify putting them above many others. Like,
Yeah, no,
yeah, it was a weird one.
I agree. They win all 3 games this week. 2 of them went to OT though against Detroit and Ottawa, which you could put flags up, but they're outplaying their opponents majorly. They look threatening. They look like kind of the team that won the cup, and yeah, like you said, it's not really like they should probably be moving higher in regards to how they're playing. It's just how bad the start of the season was with the injuries and how the other teams above them have been playing consistently for that long, like this level for that long.
Mhm.
So definitely, I could easily see them in the top 10, a week or two easily. But I'd like you hold out for now.
For sure. All
Alrighty.
right.
Pick number 12. One of those teams. There's Colorado Avalanche not moving for me.
Mhm. And they move up one, and I've got them at 12 as well. Um, we're on a little bit of a run again here. What's that? That's 4 in a row now.
I think it
I love it.
might fall apart soon, but yeah, it's another team that goes 3-0, and but all their teams went to OT or shootout, which was quite interesting. Shootout against Islanders. OT against the Canadians and OT against Nashville. And you look at those teams and where they are in the standings, it kind of puts flags, but they're playing good hockey even for the injuries they have. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's why I couldn't move them up, but I couldn't move them down.
Yeah, I mean, respect. I think that's probably what all they're after at the moment is, um, let's get let's just grind out wins. Even if we have to take it to OT, even if we have to do it ugly, they're still playing really good hockey. Like it's not exactly ugly hockey, but they're getting it done. Um, I know they've gotten a couple of players back, which is good, but they're still waiting on a fair few others. Um, but yeah, they're just doing what they need to do, and that's what's so scary about them. Is they're still putting up really good numbers. I mean, what are they on the season? They're 19 and 11 and 2,
Mm,
and we're probably not even seeing the best of them yet.
yeah. Oh,
So
I
yeah,
agree
they're definitely scary.
already.
Uh,
Your pick?
all right, pick 11. These guys don't move for me. They had a reasonably decent week, other than I think they got absolutely smoked in one game, or lost to a team they shouldn't have. What's that one? Um, yeah, they lost to San Jose. Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, that's what undid it for me. Was the
Yeah.
San Jose game. You lose that one. You beat Ottawa and Anaheim, where top 10 you're expected to win. Losing to San Jose, that's why they drop out the top 10 for me, moving down one position.
I yeah, that's right. You were higher on them
I was
last week,
equal
but
with Rangers on them last week, but yeah,
yeah, and we had them switched, but that's five straight. That's epic. But the one thing I will touch on is they have had quite an easy run. I know we've started seeing them, they're moving into playoff spots and all the rest of that, but yeah, it's been like their last four games: San Jose, Anaheim, Ottawa, Chicago. Um, they played Anaheim again a couple of weeks back, Vancouver, Edmonton three times this month, and we all know Edmonton haven't been exactly a top 16 team. So I'm interested to see what happens because they're coming up against Winnipeg and Dallas, and Tampa Bay all in the next couple of weeks. And then they've got a real hard run in the East, coming up against some of the top 10 sides over there. Um, so I still think they're a great side, and I think they deserve to be where they are. I'm just interested to see if some of these results we're seeing are more their opponents than them.
yep.
And I think it'll be a real test in the coming weeks.
Alrighty, moving on to the top 10. I don't know if you probably have this team higher. Um, I could see how you could, but I have the New York Rangers.
Or I don't have them much higher, but I did move them up one. I've got them at 9.
Yeah, I can see that. They're playing good hockey. Completely destroyed the Blackhawks, 7-1. They lose to Pittsburgh, 3-2, and that was a good game though. It was very tight. And then they go and win against the Islanders, but like we said, it's almost like they don't know what that type of team is with the Islanders. Um,
Yeah,
34 shots to 18. But they're playing good on ice, and that's what's threatening, and that's why I could definitely see why you put them higher. It's just I guess I'm a little higher on the other teams, and just on them in regards to the standings, they're just above Minnesota, 0.614% win percentage. It's not high. They're below Colorado,
mm,
Seattle in regards to that win percentage. So that was my issue. But they're 8-2 in the
I,
last 10.
yeah, and that's the thing. Well, they're 8-1 in the last 9, and it's the last 9 that's really big for me because they were struggling for a while there, and they before this run they come off the back of losses to Anaheim. They handed them their first regulation win. They lose to Ottawa, lose to Chicago, but then they go on to beat Vegas, Colorado, New Jersey Devils, Toronto, and the Islanders. They're five notable teams that they've beaten in their last nine, and then the close loss against Pittsburgh. So they're playing real quality sides. That's the big thing for me, is they're not just beating those lowly teams, they're getting wins against the top tier teams. And that's why I think I'm holding them so high. And I really wouldn't be surprised to see them move very close to that top five in the coming weeks.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the basically from two onwards, it's very close. So
Hmm.
easily.
For
All right,
sure.
your pick.
All right. These guys drop off a little bit for me. Yeah, it was a tough week. I had to drop them down a bit. I got the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, so they're my number 9,
Yeah, cool.
moving down two
I
for me.
figured you would drop them. Yeah, I figured you would drop them a few spots as well. Um,
Yeah, well, when you go 1-3 in 4 games, and your only win was against Ottawa, it's like you had some couple hard games, Boston and the Caps, as we've said, they're pretty hard teams to verse, but then they also lose and pretty substantially against the Kraken. Only having 17 shots. So, couple worrying signs. I believe. Don't quote me. I think actually Hellebuck was somewhat injured, and that's why it's not looking great. But and they're having to run through their backups. Maybe that's.
he didn't he didn't play against Seattle.
Mm,
Um, he didn't play against Ottawa,
I, I'm
and if he
pretty.
did,
I'm
uh,
pretty sure he got injured. Uh,
he
it,
came back for the Boston game.
yeah,
And then he didn't play against Washington, so he only played the one game this
yeah.
week, um,
And the
which
Washington was
hurts.
a was a back to back, and that's a brutal back to back going from Boston to Washington. That's probably one of the worst you could
Right,
get at the moment.
it is, but given that we've had them so high in the rankings for so long, I think you kind of expect them to at least pick up a win
Yep.
or take something to overtime and
But
take something from that.
but maybe it's just the Hellebuck figure that we were talking about. If he ever gets injured, where do they end up? And it doesn't look good so far. But no, he's
Yeah,
he's back.
exactly.
But yeah,
Yeah, he didn't miss too long. I think he missed two games, so
yeah, yeah.
not huge, but yeah. All
Alrighty.
right, on
Oh,
to your
yep.
pick A, I think.
Number 8, I have a team not moving. It's the Dallas Stars. So, so yeah,
I've got them there as well.
oh,
Yeah.
that's good to see. We've done pretty good this week.
Yeah.
They go and beat the Columbus, but then they lose to Oilers. But honestly, it's how many power plays do you give them and whatnot, and what type of feeling Oilers are feeling. And then they beat Montreal, so it was kind of a easier schedule than most, and they come out with 4 out of 6 points, and that's why I can't move them up just because of how the other teams above them have been playing. Um, Even though looking at it, some of them had 1 and 2 records, but they're still playing amazing on ice. So
Yes.
that's why I can't have Dallas any higher at the moment, though they're still playing some really good hockey.
Funny story. That Edmonton game, Edmonton only had two power plays and they only scored one power play goal. So they had five even strength goals, my friends. That's probably more than they've had all season.
But that's what I mean. Like that,
Um,
they'll turn it up for a game and then they'll just disappear.
yeah, exactly.
So they drew the short straw against the Oilers there.
I think you touched on it perfectly. They had a reasonable week, but the opponents weren't too difficult. So yeah. All right, moving on to P7. They just move up one spot from me, and it's really just taking over Winnipeg that's done that. And it's the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, that's where I've got them. I believe they move up 2 for me just because I had them a little bit lower last week. Look at that, you got 1-1-1. Um,
Yeah, they get 5 out of 6 points, but again, it's probably sorry, is it 5 out of 6? No, sorry, 4 out of 6 points. They didn't take the Buffalo game to OT. My bad. Don't get me wrong, they probably should have beaten Buffalo and made it 6 from 6, but it's not a tough week for them. They come
no,
up against Arizona, who we know can grind some games. They come up against St. Louis today. just get the job done.
In shootout.
And then
They draw against St. Louis, which is
exactly. So,
mm,
um, yeah, I'm not sold on Vegas yet. There's still part of me that's
mm,
wondering if, if it'll fall apart when they come up against some of the stronger teams. They went all right when they had that little run against a bit of like the tougher opponents, but I still think they lost more than they won. Like you look, they lost to Pittsburgh, lost to the Rangers, lost to Boston, lost to the Islanders, and they beat Boston and beat Winnipeg
mm.
in that six tough games. So yeah, I'm still not sold. I still think they're gonna thrive off of a weaker division, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. One thing I would say is that I've watched a couple of their games, and it's kind of fun hockey to watch in a sense.
Mhm.
It's kind of a little free flowing, but also I just like Mark Stone. When they score and he's on the ice, he's got so much energy, and every time, and it's a big difference like from Mark Stone to like a Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid, like he almost has no emotion sometimes. Where Stone, no matter what, he's up in air, and he really rallies that team. And
And that's
Pacioretty's,
why he's the captain.
and that's why he's the captain. But it's amazing to see. I love that from him. Is one of my favorite players just because of that. And it's also good to see that Pacioretty's also been playing, and he's actually looking somewhat decent, especially on the power play. But anyway, moving on to number 6, I have a team not moving. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins.
They don't move for me either. I just had them higher last week,
Yeah,
so
I
I've got
have.
them in at number 5.
Yeah, I understand that. Like I had them last week tied with New Jersey. It was basically 5 or 6. You could have flipped them either way, and it would have been the same for me. It's they have what 1 and 2 week this week, and they win against the Rangers. As we said, it was you know the Rangers big game. Lose against Carolina and lose against Carolina, but in OT. So really hard schedule compared to the other teams that we've been talking about, and that's why they don't move for me. And even in those losses and wins, they're playing really good hockey still. So definitely a powerhouse team still.
Yeah, for sure. I think yeah, they're going to be dangerous. And I think they'll we know they don't have too many years left as contenders, but I definitely think they're going to give it a shake this year.
Yeah, so we've got 8-1-1 in the last 10. What got 19 wins for the season. 5 OT losses. They're not too far. Like 0.652 point percentage. It's kind of the same as Dallas and almost similar to New Jersey as well, just a little bit below. So they're definitely in it. I, I fear them. I hope honestly they go and win the the what do you call it, the President's Trophy, just so they don't win the cup. But but I would honestly want them to win the cup because I'd love to see Sydney if our team didn't win it, just so that I could see Sydney Crobs be raised one more time. That'd be good.
Yeah, no, just to close out what is an absolute, it's been a pleasure
Yeah.
to watch his career. I'm just going to point out, I think you were talking about Petrangelo before. You said Pacioretty.
Oh, did I? I said the wrong name.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was like Pacioretty. No, they screwed him over, and he's playing for Carolina and hasn't played a game.
That's why I brought it
But
up.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nah, Petrangelo.
Petrangelo is back, and he has been playing well.
Yep.
All right, on to number 6. We've got the not moving anywhere. They have been on a massive slide, the New Jersey Devils. Um, People might ask, like, "Oh, are you sure they've won 6-1 in their last 8?" So, that's not good signs. I mean, yeah, I get that. And this is a team that, especially if Vegas and Dallas and Rangers and that have better weeks than they do, they can start to slide even further. But I didn't see much more from the likes of Vegas, Dallas, New York, etc. Um, and I'm still seeing good hockey from New Jersey. The results just aren't there. So I think their previous record is just holding them
Yeah.
in that spot just a little bit longer. Because yeah, like they they play. I don't even think they got outplayed today. In that second period, they just concede 4 goals. I was saying to you during the thing, I'm like, all I'm watching is Devil's chance, Devil's chance, Devil's chance, Devil's chance, Devil's chance. But oh, Boston scored.
Yep.
Shit.
That was
And then it
basically
was the
the whole
same.
game. Yeah.
It was. And yeah, and like it's disappointing because you look at it and go, well, you've got to be better because it's not acceptable. Like you can dominate a game all you want. Like you look at the 2 games they lost this week. Boston, they outshoot them 40-23. Um, and then what is it? It's Carolina. They outshot them 30, what was it, 38-20. Like, I mean, I
No,
you
like
know,
you hit the nail on the head. The issue is what was the start of the season. They don't have a true goal scorer, and that was the issue at the start of the season. That's why they were going for Goudreau. He's not a pure goal scorer, but he can put up those tallies. They go get
mhm,
Palat instead, who then ends up injured. Probably an underrated injury is Nathan Bastion. He's a fourth liner,
mhm.
but honestly, they were playing like a second line. And ever since he's been injured, that BMW line has been
Has
honestly
been non-existent.
in non-existent since. So I think that injury is very much under the radar. But
Mhm,
I don't slide them down purely because how the teams below them, they didn't really have great runs. New Jersey had a better run at the start of the season, holding them up. And
mhm.
I definitely see from next week onwards, if they continue this slide, uh, going on down for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I still, one thing to point out as well today against Boston, they were missing their best defensive pair and one of the best defensive pairs in the league. Like you look at the stats of Ryan Graves and John Marino, they lost both of them
Yeah,
in the back to back on Carolina and Florida. They won one night, the other the next, and
yeah.
that's their best defensive lineup.
Well,
Um,
John Marino, in my opinion, is leading the Norris Trophy, but and that's not being biased. I just think he's leading the Norris Trophy, but I know he
his
won't
defensive work,
because he doesn't put up
yeah,
points. But his defensive work is god tier. I can't imagine remember the last time he's on the boards in the defensive zone and loses the puck, or he's going taking the puck around two forwards for checking. Like he's been amazing. So losing that is against Boston is a real big one. But anyway, moving
yeah,
on
exactly.
to number 4 for me. Team moving slightly down. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, yeah, I've got them there as well. Kind of had to. They lose 2 games that they probably shouldn't, but you can't really. I mean, they played Toronto. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I think they
Nah,
should have
nah, they
just
shouldn't
been
shouldn't
a
lose
little, a
that
little
game,
bit.
or they're just saving it for first round playoffs. But
They,
um,
they shouldn't lose it the way they did. I think I
yeah,
should say.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
I agree. And then the 4-7 loss against Detroit was a bit rough. More of a 5-4 loss than to empty nets. But yeah, you expect better from a team that's in second spot in your power rankings and third on mine. You should be taking at least 2 points out of that week. Um, yeah, definitely. But I think they might be slightly on the slide. I'm just gonna call it now, just because
big call.
yeah, not a big slide by any chance, but even if they win their next game, they're equal points with Pittsburgh, so that's kind of where they're at the moment. It's just I've liked what I've seen on ice.
All right. Moving on to number 3. I've got the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that's where I've got them. I guess
They're
they
not really doing too much wrong, are
no
they? But
no, not doing too much wrong. They beat Tampa, so I guess that just skips them above. Even though I don't, that's not how I do my rankings. But then they go and beat Philly, so the
yeah,
the
they
big
had a
win,
little bit of a scare.
yeah, a little bit of scare, but their win against Tampa was just very dominant, and
Yes.
I think they've got a lot of things going good at the moment. I'm not too sure how sustainable it is, but I think they could take it into the playoffs and go forward. But then you just got to ask the question, do they get past Tampa in round one? That's a big
Yeah, well, I
that's
mean,
a big
that's
question.
the question, isn't it? Like, can they snag that top spot off of Boston?
Yeah.
Because I think that's probably where they'd want to be right now.
Uh,
Try and avoid Boston or Tampa at all costs.
my only scare for them is Nylander. Like Nylander's been playing amazing, like we've been saying, and what does he get in his salary? So they won't be able to afford him. So do you ship him at the trade deadline? You probably don't. You probably just push for this one run and then just lose him. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
that's
they've
my
got another year with him,
that's
so
my scare with him. Yeah,
yeah,
but they're not going to be able to sign him. That's my scare with him. Um,
yeah, but they've still got him next year,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
they'll keep him for
yeah,
this
yeah.
run.
I'm sorry, I
Um,
didn't mean this trade deadline. I mean next trade deadline. But
yeah,
that's my
I agree
scare.
with you though.
Yeah. Already
Yeah,
on to
'cause
pick.
you're going to lose a great player otherwise because
Yeah.
he's phenomenal, and you're not going to be able to sign him. But yeah, all right,
Already
on to P2.
P2 pretty easy. Carolina Hurricanes. They don't move for me. Uh,
They don't move for me either, but whoa, are they coming into top spot territory? I mean, Boston are going to have to do a lot wrong to change that, but Carolina are doing everything right.
yeah. Like I said last week, they've probably gone under the radar. They went under the radar for you, but they come out and
Hmm?
beat Pittsburgh twice, beat New Jersey, and then they beat Philly in a 6-5 high scoring game. But 4-0, eight maximum points. It's just purely Boston's been Boston, and that's why they're not number one.
Oh, exactly. That is really all you can say. I think they're 12-0-1 in their last 13 games. They're just they are on an absolute tear at the moment. They're playing some really good hockey. Had a bit of a scare against Philly. Philly have given a couple of the top teams a scare this week in some late comebacks, but they get the job done at the end of the day. And yeah, they're really dangerous. If they keep this up, I can see them. They've got to be making the Eastern Conference final
Oh,
at worst.
well, yeah, they're definitely a contender, aren't they? So
Yeah,
probably
100%.
one of the strongest contenders out of the Metro, with probably Pittsburgh at number two. Um,
Yeah,
and I could definitely see them making the final, probably versing somewhere like a Boston, Tampa, or Toronto.
for sure.
But
All right, moving on to number one.
top it
It
off.
doesn't change again because why would it at the point? Boston are just, yeah, it's scary how good and how consistent they're playing. They've just got, yeah, like we touched on it. I don't think you can say too much more, but they've got a good four lines, a good three lines of defense pairings, and two really solid goaltenders. So yeah,
Yeah, that they versus New Jersey on a back to back, and they get outplayed. Honestly, I feel like they lose that game against a team that actually has a scorer on their team. But because New Jersey can't score, they get the win. Um, yeah, the amount of times New Jersey hit the post or something stupid.
yeah,
But it was on a back to back. First they play the Jets and then they go and versus the Devils. That's a very hard schedule as well. So not
yeah.
only are they winning games, they're winning games on hard schedules. So yeah, they're probably immediately locked for playoffs now. They can probably cruise
Yeah,
control. I don't know
I
what
was
you
gonna
do
say.
if you keep trying to play this or you start managing players for injuries. I don't know.
I think they'll do a little bit of that, but I think they'll try and push a lot harder because I think for them as well, they'll want to try and lock up that number one Atlantic spot. Whether or not they want the President's Trophy, I think they'll want that number one Atlantic spot. They don't want to be playing. Toronto or Tampa in the first round. They want to be playing the one of the wild card teams, even though the wild card teams are probably going to be good sides as
Mm,
well.
mm,
Yeah. So I think that'll come a bit later in the season. But the
yeah,
likes of Bergeron and Krejci,
yeah.
you probably will see that.
I'm just saying if someone has a little bruise or a niggle and it's just like, oh, I don't really want to play a back to back. Maybe you just healthy scratch them for that one game and make sure they're
Oh,
right.
100%.
So
Yeah, of
like
course.
they can honestly almost go into that mode. It's hard to though. Like you look at the like let's have a look at our power rankings in a sense. Like was it Atlantic, Metro, Atlantic, Atlantic, Metro, Metro for me. Like top six are all East, then three West, then East. So what's that, like 7 out of 10? So how much can you pull off the throttle? That's the question.
Exactly. Like, and that's why I don't think they'll pull too far back, not yet anyway. If they've got a clear number one spot locked up by like 60, 70 games in, I could see them sort of doing that a little bit. But yeah, for now, I think they'll just keep trotting along.
Yeah, and I guess there's not much to do at the trade deadline too. Like I guess you just bring in a depth player that can, like, maybe a third liner that play can play fourth line or be healthy scratch for if you do get an injury going into playoffs. I think that's the only things they'd be
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to add to their team really. They're playing complete team games, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, all right, I think that's it. I think that's
Yeah,
us done for this week. Another one in the books, and mm, not the last one for the year, but close to. Um, but yeah, it's officially Christmas Day here,
yeah,
12 o'clock in the
for
morning.
15 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay safe, enjoy your holidays, and yeah, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy and eat a lot of food.
all right, Merry Christmas. Catch you guys.